Hi and welcome to this video in the MRDCL Fundamentals series, and in this video we're going to quickly try to help you find format options that you want to use in MRDCL. Now, one of the things that we get in support sometimes is that we find that people just can't find a format option that they want to use, maybe for a statistical option or for terms of percentage in decimal places or whatever it might be. And if you don't know what the format option is called, it can become quite difficult to actually find the one that you want. So this is really just some advice on where to look and how to find the format options, and just one or two things about format options to sort of take you through what's available. Now, where I start, where I recommend people start if they are looking for a format option, is to click on the help button here that you get on MRDCL. Click on Command Language Help, and in here, it's not easy to find unless you do it this way. Type in Format Category. Now, by typing that, you should get a menu of different things coming up, but if you click on Formats by Category and display that, you've got a much better chance of finding the particular format option that you're looking for, because you'll get a description of each of the format options applicable in that particular sort of part of the program. And you can see they're broken down here into 9 categories. And just to quickly take you through what all these are. So if you're looking for widths and indents, now these typically apply to the formatting of text tables. So there's a whole series of formats here that allow for different widths for columns. You'll see some of these begin with indentations before titles, footnotes, and so on. So most of these will apply to text-based tables and row label width. If you generally use tables in CSV file format or output in CSV format, most of these won't apply because you'll be looking at them in a spreadsheet typically. So that's that list. Line spacing similarly looks at lines after, lines before different parts of a table. Again, they're typically for people who are doing text-based output. And you can see here you've got things like lines before each row and so on, which you can set. So you can pick any of those. So I'm not going to look at those in too much detail. Let's come to the figures, because that's where perhaps you do want to look at things more often. And you can see here we've got a whole list of different format options that apply to figures. Now let's make some general comments first of all about format options. When you click on a format option, so by default you'll find that if you click on CAS, which is a character for 0, the default is a dash. So you can see CAZ quote dash quote. So that means where there's an absolute 0 for any of the figures, a dash gets printed. Now that tells you what the default is. If you wanted to replace that dash with a 0, the actual character 0, you would just have to enter a format option CAZ quote 0 quote, and that would replace it in your run or your individual table for that particular setting. And you can see at the bottom of all of these format option descriptions, you get a long description. Where it's appropriate, you get examples, but you also get links to related format options. So, for example, if you wanted to change the character for 0 for percentages, there's another option here called CZP, and I can click through to that, and you'll actually see it's almost applied the same way if you want to use that. So let's go back again. And you can see there's other options here. So you've got things like double precision, which you should always use when you've got real numbers or weighting applied, decimal places for percentages. So that's another option in this particular category. And as we scroll down, you'll see things like increment in tables, parentheses around negative numbers, printing raw counts or hiding raw counts and perhaps just showing percentages. Things like the percentaging, like RTH if you want horizontal percentages, RTT if you want percentages on total, and you can print the types of percentages as well on a particular table. So there's a whole set of options here that apply to figures. So if you're looking for something that applies to figures, this is the category to look under. And then we come to statistics, and here you'll find all the options that apply to statistics. So if you want to know how to apply a chi-square, for example, You can see here that the standard setting is that it's set to 0, which means no chi-square, and then you can have two different options, CHI1 and CHI2, which give you two alternative calculations. And that applies, of course, then to all the other format options. They tell you what the default setting is, and a description, and any links to any related format options that you might want to look at again. And this is a really useful list, the statistics ones, because you might not remember what it's called, but you should be able to find it if you scroll down this shorter list, and you have a very short description here and then a longer description when you click through. Moving on, we come to total rows and columns. So this tells it whether you want to print total rows and columns, increment total rows and columns, various options here. You can base tables on all answering as well. So they're described here. The presence of unweighted rows are also covered here. So some options to deal with rows, total rows and columns. Minimum value suppressed. So here you have a shorter list for suppressing blank rows, blank columns, blank tables, what you do with minimum values in tables and so on. So again, a little list here for minimum values. Then some format options that apply to compilation. These tend to be things like warnings and character delimiters. Many people never use any of these. And then we go on to some of the executional ones, which I think are useful. Things like accepting decimals in fields, accepting negative numbers, accepting trailing blanks, how you deal with blank fields, whether you treat them as 0 or undefined, and truncation in arithmetic as well you can use. So there's various options here that you can apply to execution. What happens in execution? There aren't many options that apply in execution. Many or most apply to formatting of tables. And then there is a miscellaneous here. So if you can't find the one you want, hopefully it's in this list here under miscellaneous, where you can find different options to control the output on your tables. So this has been a very quick run through of the options you have available in MRDCL and where to find them. But the key thing to remember is to start the search. If you can't find or you don't know the option you want, in Command Language Help Index, type in that magic words format category, and you should be able to find the one that you want. And click here. And I hope this has been really useful to you to solve some of your problems when it comes to using format options in MRDCL. Thank you.